What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another episode of the Premier League Spurs-Spective, where me and Sim do reviews of every single Premier League game, which is a reaction from Predict the Prem, when me and my brother go head-to-head in predicting Premier League outcomes, and we have scores against each other as well, which are 236 to 242. And the way the scoring works, it's 5 points for a completely correct scoreline, 1 point for a correct result, and the star man as well. Once you pick them again, you can't pick them for the remainder of the season, which is getting pretty hard right now, trying to weave through everyone. But it's 5 points for a goal, 3 points for an assist. Let's get straight into it, starting off with the Bournemouth-Liverpool game, which finished 1-0 to Bournemouth on the day. Sim went to 4-1 to Liverpool. I went 3-1 to Liverpool. And after that 7-0 win against Manchester United, I mean, everyone thought Liverpool were going to start on a run and go on a run now. But they've become a bit Spursy of late, and they lost to Bournemouth at the Vitality. Billing, man, he always pops up in these big games, Billing, and scores a goal. Really good player, to be fair. I think he scored against Arsenal last week as well.
In the first minute.
Yeah, so he opened the scoring in the 28th minute for Bournemouth. And I thought Liverpool had more than enough chances, more than enough time to get back into this game. And they just couldn't find a way through.
Well, they had the penalty, didn't they?
And
Mo
the penalty,
Salah,
yeah.
oh my word, one of the worst penalties you're ever likely
Yeah.
to see. I've never seen a penalty especially from Salah, miss the target by so much.
Yeah.
They had so many chances. To be fair, Van Dijk had header cleared off the line. Jota had a few opportunities. The XG says it all. I mean, 0.86 to 1.75 in Liverpool's favour, but they just couldn't find the back of the net. 4 big chances missed by Liverpool on the day. And I think in another season they might chalk this up to just being a bad day at the office and they move on. But with games running out in the top 4 race, falling further behind Spurs, which we'll get into in a minute, it's got to be a slight concern. I mean, a big concern, sorry, because after beating United 7-0, you think, okay, they're back on the right track now, and they keep going through these. You know, they beat Everton, and then they beat Everton, and they won 2. They had 2 really beat Newcastle, and then they lost to Real Madrid 5-2 at home, and then they drew 0-0 away at Palace. Then they beat Wolves, beat at home, beat United 7-0. Okay, back on the right track again. Lose away at Bournemouth, who were rock bottom of the league when they started the game. So I think the biggest concern is that maybe not necessarily this game, it's what the next few games is for Liverpool.
Yeah, it's a weird one with Liverpool, because this season they've seemed to perform in the big games. Well, not in the Champions League, but in the Premier League they seem to have.
But not away from home.
Maybe not away from home. Maybe you're right there, but they have been getting results against some big teams this season. And I kind of feel like they're more comfortable in playing these games against the Man Cities, the Chelseas, than they are against the lower teams. But then again, because they beat Man City, didn't they, earlier on this season? They beat Manchester United earlier on, just now.
At home.
I guess they've got 2 hard away games.
Home form and away form for them has been a big mystery. You know, they just lost 3-0 away at Wolves and they beat them at home 2-0. I think their away form, I mean, they beat Newcastle 2-0, but then again, that game kind of fell into their lap a bit because Pope got sent off very early and they got 2 early goals, and that was that.
The league table says it all, to be honest. In their home form, they're the 3rd best team in the country. In their away form, they are 11th best team in the country.
And their next away game, the Etihad.
Yeah.
They go to the Etihad. They then 3 days later go to a resurgent Chelsea team away from home at Stamford Bridge. They then play Arsenal at home in their next game. And then they go to Ellen Road, which
at least they're playing Man City away and Arsenal at home.
Yeah, I guess. From our point of view, so it's going to be exactly. So let's hope that can be undoing for Arsenal. But you got to be a bit worried if they don't get a win out of one of those games. It's got to be a bit of a worry if Tottenham, go on a bit of a run.
Yeah, let's just hope they can lose their next 2 games in the league and then win their 3rd one against Arsenal. I think everyone can get behind that one.
How many points do you reckon they're getting out of those 3 games? City away, Chelsea away, and Arsenal at home.
I'm going to go 2.
2 points.
2 points. Loss against City, draw against Chelsea, draw against Arsenal.
I reckon they beat Arsenal, they draw away at Chelsea, and they lose to City. So 4 points I'm going for. Okay. We're going for 4 points, which I think they'll probably take.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? Because the top 4 race is so tight now. And if they do pick up that many amount of points, if they do, let's say they do pick up 4 points over the next 3 games, you're looking at Spurs' fixtures in those games. We've got Southampton away, Everton away, and Brighton at home. I mean, I would assume...
I don't think we're getting maximum points.
No, I don't. I wasn't going to say that. I think that Brighton is going to be a very tough one. I'm not sure if we're going to win that game. But I would like to think that we'll beat Southampton and Everton, though.
I don't know. Everton away.
Yeah, it's not an easy game, but I would like to think we go there and win.
I don't know.
The quality that we have.
I don't know, actually. I really don't. They beat Arsenal. You know what I mean?
They did beat Arsenal, but since then they've been pretty poor.
We'll get into that in a minute anyway, but it's not great preparation if they're wanting to overturn that deficit against Madrid, is it?
Yeah. Definitely not. But let's move on. 0 points for us there. Everton against Brentford up next. 1-0 to Everton at Goodison. Sim went for 1-0. I went to 2-0, both to Brentford. So 0 points we get here. And again, I thought Brentford probably did enough to get something out of this game, albeit David Raya did get the man of the match in this game once again for Brentford. But you're looking at the XG, and XG for Brentford 2.23. With 0 goals scored, and for Everton it was 1.09, obviously scoring a goal, winning 1-0. They did have a goal disallowed on the stroke of half-time as well, Everton, to make it 2-0 with the Mari Gray and the handball. But look, they scored in the first minute, Everton, 1-0, and Brentford just couldn't find a way through.
And it was resolute. It was a brilliant finish by McNeil, to be fair. Haven't seen anywhere near enough of that quality since he's been at Everton. And I think Sean Dyche is really starting to unlock his quality. I don't think Lampard knew how to use him. Dwight McNeil, he was putting him on the right. He was putting him at left wing back. He didn't really know how to get the best out of him. And Dyche just kind of just got him in, made him a traditional left winger. You just stand out on the left hand side, swinging crosses, and that's how we're going to get the best use of him. And to be fair, he's doing a great job for Sean Dyche, and this was a proper, again, Sean Dyche performance. They got the lead, and they'll decide we're not going to concede after this lead. By hook or by crook, we're going to get these 3 points and keep this clean sheet. And to be fair, that's exactly what they did. They were resolute. I remember Seamus Coleman, I was watching a bit of the game, and Seamus Coleman, right at the end of the game, he earns a foul inside his own half, with 5 minutes to go, and he celebrates it like he scored a goal. Like, that's how much it means to these players, like, just grinding out these results. And look, Brentford are unbeaten for how long? They've ended their unbeaten run
since it was
October or something. Yeah. Like, it's a ridiculous run. They're over 10 games, I think, or 10 games unbeaten, and it's no mean feat ending that unbeaten run. And I know they maybe got a bit of luck because Brentford did definitely had some chances which they missed, but you got to give them credit for ending that unbeaten run. And I think Sean Dyche, I think that's the home form is what's going to keep them up. I think away from home is difficult for them right now.
So Everton beat Arsenal's unbeaten run. They stopped Arsenal's unbeaten run, didn't they? They've stopped Brentford's unbeaten run, but they've lost every other game in between.
Yeah, it's been crazy. I think they had one other game. They beat Leeds 1-0, I think, didn't they? That was with a bit of luck. But every game was 1-0 that they're winning. And it's interesting as well that they've put Damari Gray in that false 9. Seems to be working for them at the moment. He seems to be doing an admirable job, and that's not you don't associate Sean Dyche with being able to play someone like Gray in a false 9. You would think he'd be lost without someone like Calvert-Lewin up there.
Yeah.
But they're grinding out these results, and fair play to Dyche.
Yeah, fair play to them, and that's taken them 15th in the league, but still in massive trouble. I mean, only 2 points above, 1 point above the drop in Bournemouth in 18th. And this relegation battle is looking so interesting, man. Literally anyone from 12th down could easily go down. It's nuts. It really is. Have you ever seen a relegation battle like this at this stage of a season?
I don't think this tight, considering there's 3 points between 18th, the last relegation place, and 12th. 3 points.
It's nuts.
That's crazy. I've never seen it that tight. At this stage,
single point is so precious.
At this stage of the season, I've never seen it this tight. It's going to be, they're saying it's going to be an all-timer relegation battle.
Yeah, I think so. And when you're looking at the league, it's probably looking like the most exciting race out of everything, the top 4 race, the title race, and the relegation race.
Probably. You don't have half the league going for the league title, do you?
It's nuts. But anyway, 0 points for either of us on that one. Let's move on to Leeds against Brighton. Sim went for 2-1 to Brighton. I went for 1-1 in this game. It did finish 2-2, so I get a point. Sim gets no points in this one, and it was a really interesting game. I thought it was going to be something like this, to be fair, and Mitoma once again pulling a brilliant assist for McAllister. But this game was all about Jack Harrison, really. He scores, he gets an assist with 5 minutes to go of the first half. Then he scores an own goal to make it 2-1 to Brighton. Sim looks like he's on his way to 5 points. And then with 10 minutes to go, he equalises for Leeds. Unbelievable stuff. He had his hand in 3 of the goals, 1 for Brighton and 2 for Leeds. But in this game, I thought it was a really even game, to be honest, and either of the sides could have won it.
Yeah, I think Brighton probably were the better team, just about, and I think they'll be annoyed they didn't come away with 3 points. I think they dominated, but Leeds definitely showed heart and they showed courage, and they didn't lay down. They didn't end without a fight, and they just kept plugging away. They just kept trying to be a threat to Brighton, and even though Brighton were dominating a lot of the possession and they were creating more of the chances, Leeds then on occasion would always threaten, would always come up with a shot on goal or an opportunity, and just reminded Brighton that they're also in this game, and it paid off. I mean, Bamford's goal got a bit of luck with the deflection, but there's no luck about Harrison's equaliser. What a finish that is. Unbelievable. On his right peg, a bit of ingenuity to take the corner quickly, but it was reminiscent of Kane's goal against Arsenal, just that angle on it, right into the top corner. Brilliant finish by Jack Harrison. And I think Brighton will be a bit annoyed because they definitely had the chances to win the game, and they had more opportunities than the chances as well. They kept fluffing their lines a bit, especially at 2-1. They could have killed it at 3-1 a couple of occasions. They didn't take it. Leeds hit back, and in this relegation fight, this will be absolutely vital, a vital point for them against a very good Brighton team. But I feel like for Brighton, they're now, when it comes to their lofty ambitions of maybe being in the top 4 race, look, to be fair to them, they are got 3 games in hand on Tottenham, but they are 9 points behind, and that means even if they win all 3 of those games, I don't know what the goal difference will look like, but they're only level on points, so it's going to be a tall order to do all that catching up to win all. I don't see them winning 3 games in hand. Yeah,
but obviously we play them soon as well, and if they do come and beat us, maybe it does turn into a bit of a possibility. But look, Brighton, I think top 4 was always going to be a bit of a stretch for them, and if they can get into the Conference League or can get into the Europa League, it'll be an amazing season for them. Let's be honest. So I think Brighton are going really well. I think De Zerbi's doing an unbelievable job, and look, even with a draw away at Leeds, where potentially they could have got all 3 points, I don't think they go away from that too disappointed.
But Mitoma, we're talking about Mitoma, but McAllister is starting to score quite regularly now. I'm pretty sure he scored last week as well against West Ham. Scored again this week. I'm not sure how many goals he's on in the Premier League now this season, but he seems
7.
to be 7 Premier League goals. I mean, for an attacking midfielder who's quite versatile, can play in a few different positions. He's won as well for Argentina. Was playing in a quite disciplined position as well. I think for sure Tottenham have to be looking at someone like McAllister.
Yeah, I think we should be looking at every single player in that Brighton squad, to be fair. No, I agree. I think McAllister looks really good. I was really impressed.
He's really come on.
I
feel
agree.
like since the World Cup, he's taken his confidence to the next level.
Yeah, I completely agree. I really like him as a player, and I think if we are looking for someone in that position, he would be someone that we definitely should be going for, but depends on his contract, how much he's going to cost. His price has probably gone up quite some way.
It's probably trebled since the World Cup, yeah.
So that's obviously another problem. But 2-2 here, Leeds against Brighton. I get a point, Sim gets no points. Moving on to Chelsea against Leicester at the King Power. 3-1 to Chelsea, and they're really starting to get to grips with life under Potter now. 2-2, Sim went for. I went for 1-0 to Chelsea, so I get a point here. Ben Chilwell opened the scoring after 10 minutes. João Felix had a goal ruled out for offside 20 minutes after that. Patson Daka equalised about 5 minutes before half-time. On the stroke of half-time, Kai Havertz gets that goal, and then Kovacic seals it off with 10 minutes to go with an assist from Mudryk. He gets his first goal inclusion for the season. And Faes gets sent off with a few minutes remaining of the game. But I feel like they're really starting to get to grips with things with Potter, and they're starting to get wins. And not only that, but Kai Havertz has been clowned upon by the Chelsea fan base all season, to be honest. And I really, every time I've watched Chelsea play the last couple of games, I've been impressed with Kai Havertz, especially his kind of link-up play.
Yeah, I think he's a good player. I just think that they've kind of put him as he's their number 9, and they've been a team under Potter that have been struggling to create chances for a long time, and he's kind of become the fall guy, the scapegoat. I think we've seen it first more in his time in the Bundesliga, but we've seen it at Chelsea as well. That he's clearly a very, very talented player. He just needs to be in the right system, and at the moment, it seems to be working for him. What a finish he scored on the stroke of half-time, a lobbed finish. It was like a Berbatov-esque kind of finish. He just made it look so easy, just dinking it over the keeper. I have to say, I watched this game. It was a brilliant game of football, chances at both ends. Chelsea, I think you would have to say, got away with one a bit in this game, in my opinion.
Well, looking at the XG, yeah, they did. 2.5 for Leicester.
Yeah, I mean, Leicester, especially, I think in the first half, Chelsea probably were I think it was a very even game, but Chelsea probably had quite some good chances. Leicester, Dewsbury Hall hit the bar. Daka obviously scored a really nice goal. Maddison forced a couple of saves out of Kepa. So they were really peppering the Chelsea goal. Daka with a really nice finish. But Chelsea, they did get some just 2 high-quality goals. That's all you can say. Chilwell's goal was a bit of a bolt from the blue, but what a finish it was on his left foot, catching Danny Ward out. You got to say Danny Ward will be a bit disappointed with it. And obviously Kai Havertz with a really nice finish. Second half, though, I mean, I can't believe the chances. Rodgers will be tearing his hair out with some of the chances that Leicester missed in that second half. Harry Souttar with an open goal, which got cleared off the line by Chilwell, and then Dewsbury Hall, hang your head in shame here. Harvey Barnes comes off the bench, sets up Dewsbury Hall for an open goal pretty much, and he completely miscues it, gets it stuck under his feet, and it just rolls tamely into the arms of Kepa Arrizabalaga, and he'll be probably having a sleepless night about that miss, Dewsbury Hall. So that was a really, really bad miss from his point of view. And then Chelsea went and sealed it with the third. I have to say all the goals were absolutely the highest quality in this game. What a finish that was by Kovacic on the volley, like a scissor kick. Unbelievable finish from him. So from Chelsea's point of view, they did create a lot of chances in the game. So I'm not saying like they were terrible, but they'll be looking back at it and thinking we did get away with one a bit.
Do you think that Chelsea right now, they're sitting 10th in the league, 9 points, 11 points behind us with a game in hand? Any chance?
I mean, they would have to win every game from now to the end of the season. I don't see them doing it.
Yeah. Fair enough.
I think
I agree.
If it was January and they had half the season still to go, I'd say yes. But I think the games are running out too much. 12 games. Yeah. I don't see it.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the maths?
In Europe as well still.
If they win 12 games, 12 times 3 is what, 30? 12 times 3 is 36. How many points are they on now? They are on 37. So that's double their points. They would have to double their points from the last 12 games.
Well, looks like they're not making it. So, I mean, look.
73. The total they can get is 73 points.
With what they've shown this season, it's a bit similar to Brighton. I mean, I know it's Chelsea and it's completely different, but they'll do well this season just to get Europa League.
Yeah, the maths just doesn't work out. We need an extra 25 points from the remaining 11 games to mathematically make it impossible. It just doesn't work.
All right, next up, Spurs against Nottingham Forest. 3-1 to Spurs on the day. Sim went 2-0, I went 1-0. So both of us getting a point on this one, predicting Spurs wins. And I thought it was a good performance from Spurs, especially in that first half. In the second half, I mean, Forest did put us under pressure and maybe potentially could have got back in the game. Spurs were a bit lacklustre at parts in that second half. But I thought, all in all, it was probably a really deserved victory from Spurs.
Yeah, it was interesting to hear Eric Dyer after the game say that he felt like a lot of the players from the Milan game maybe felt some heavy legs in that second half, and that was maybe the part of the reason why we took our foot off the gas. But I think Spurs were in control by and large, especially in the first half, super dominant, took a commanding lead into the second half, and Forest made a couple of subs, added some more energy, and tried to get their way back in the game. Spurs sealed it with the third goal. I think that was the real killer. And then from then on, Forest never really looked like getting back in the game, although they did have a penalty to possibly make it 3-2 in stoppage time. But even then, I think it was probably more of a consolation than actually trying to get back in the game. So I think Spurs deservedly won the game and deservedly got the 3 points, and it was a dominant display in the end, especially in the first half.
Yeah, absolutely. And really good first half performance from Spurs. And it was just good to get those early goals as well. So it just settled the nerves, didn't it, early on for Spurs?
I think that's crucial for Tottenham in a lot of games where we don't score early and we end up either giving the advantage to the other team or we don't take the ascendancy and we don't score more on top, and a lot of the time it costs us.
Yeah. Next up, Crystal Palace against Manchester City. 1-0 to Man City on the day. Both of us going for 2-0 to Man City. And it was very unlucky not to be fair. I mean, Man City peppered Crystal Palace for the majority of the game. XG was 2.29 to Man City, 0.18 for Crystal Palace. Look, Vieira's not going to be judged on these games, but he is going to be judged on how they're doing as a whole. I mean, they haven't won a game in so long now, Crystal Palace. And I worry about them for the drop this season. I really do. I know they're kind of, sitting in 12th, but they are being drawn into it.
No, they definitely. I have to say, I was one who was saying, like, I think they'll be all right, but I have to say they're very much now. Even 12th is a false position because they're 3 points above the drop zone. 3 points. That's one game.
Yeah.
I know there's 6 teams in between them and the 18th, so you could say all the other teams have to win and they have to lose, but
still a lot of games.
I think the most worrying thing maybe isn't necessarily the lack of wins, which is definitely worrying. They haven't had a shot on target in 3 games.
Wow.
That has to be a major concern. Even against Man City, you expect Palace at home to at least test the goalkeeper with the talent they have. Zaha, Olise, Eze was on the bench, but they have talent in the forward line that are perfect for hurting a team like Man City. And to not have a shot on target for that game, but I think in isolation you can kind of accept it. But now 3 games in a row without a shot on target, that has to be alarm bells ringing. And if he doesn't turn this form around, they'll be sliding down the table very, very quickly. And they could, like, in 2 weeks, they could be in 18th. You know what I mean?
No team has picked up less points than them in the last 10 games. No team has scored less goals than them in the last 10 games.
And who's their next 2 games? Brighton away, Arsenal at home.
Wow.
No, sorry, Brighton away and Arsenal away.
Brighton away, Arsenal away, and then they got big games against Leicester, Leeds, and Southampton.
But it's no,
and Everton
there is,
and Wolves. They've got big relegation scraps.
But there is no. They could easily be in the relegation zone in those after those 2 games.
Of course they can.
So in 2 weeks' time, we could be talking about Palace in the relegation zone.
Yeah,
that has got to be massive alarm bells from Vieira's point of view. Who'll be thinking, I just need to stay. I just need to get through the next 2 games still in a job, and then I can really earn my money, because he'll probably believe that Brighton and Arsenal, you're unlikely to get points out of those games the way they're playing, but then he'll really be able to earn his money in the games, as you say, against Leicester, Leeds, Southampton, Everton. Those are the games where they'll be able to really compete and go toe-to-toe with those teams. But will he still be in a job if he loses the next 2 games? That's the worry for him.
Yeah.
And I think he really has to somehow get a point in one of those games.
Somehow. But their last win, 31st of December, haven't won in this calendar year yet. It's absolutely nuts. And with all the goodwill he got from the Crystal Palace fans last season, after they changed up their style of play, started playing well, started getting points on the board, had a really good season last year, I don't even know what's gone wrong for them this year.
I think the goals have really dried up in the forward line. I think they've had injuries with Eze and Zaha. Zaha was missing for a few weeks at least. It's difficult. I think that they're trying to be defensively solid, but when you're going 3 games without a shot on target, there's only so much your defence can do if you're not scoring any goals. And that's a big worry for Vieira. I think first of all, their squad isn't so great. When you think about Olise, Eze, Zaha, beyond that, there isn't much in terms of attacking threat, is there? You got Edouard, Mateta, but if you're an if you're an opposition manager, you're not really too worried about those players.
It's more attacking threat that they have had in the last since they've been back in the Premier League. I mean, they've added Eze to that, they've added Olise to that, they've always had Zaha.
I'll tell you what they need: bring Benteke back.
Yeah, Benteke's.
Bring him back. They probably miss him. I tell you.
Where is he now?
I think he's at DC United now.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Bloody hell.
Bring him back.
All right. Well, we both get a point for that one. Let's move on to.
We didn't even touch on City.
Yeah, I mean, look, they played well, got a penalty in the latter stages of the game, but it should never have got to that, to be honest.
No, but
they should have been.
What was interesting is seeing
Should have been in
Haaland's
the league before
reaction.
that.
Well, seeing Haaland's reaction after the game, I think.
What was Haaland's reaction after?
He was like full of like fire and belief that they're going to go on and win this title, and he was like, he kept saying like to the camera, "I love it, like fiery, like with that dead-eyed stare into the camera." And I thought that was quite interesting, because you think in this kind of game it was just like a normal victory, but maybe he saw it as more than that, because there was a bit of a risk going into the last stage of this game. Are they going to go again dropping points? But they did get the goal, kept the heat on Arsenal, but we'll get into it in a minute. Arsenal did respond.
Yeah, they did respond. And let's move on to that game. London derby, Fulham against Arsenal. 3-0 to Arsenal on the day. Sim went 1-1. I went 2-2. And look, it was a complete demolition job from Arsenal in this game. Fulham were absolutely shocking, to be honest. And Arsenal battered them, especially in that first half. Trossard getting 3 assists on the day. And look, at the end of the day, there was only one team in this game.
Absolutely. I have to say, I really thought Fulham would have put up more of a fight than they did in this game. I did have it as 1-1, and to be fair, Arsenal completely swept Fulham aside. It wasn't even a case of even before the opening goal, they had that goal ruled out for VAR for offside. They were peppering Fulham throughout. They made light work of a very decent Fulham team who usually give better teams more trouble than they did Arsenal. And Arsenal swept them aside like they were relegation candidate. I have to say, it was they won at a canter. Fulham literally didn't threaten at all. They did hit the bar in the second half, but the game was done by then. Arsenal were at their absolute best, and that's 5 wins in a row now. They've really put those performances where they went 3 games without a win. I think those 2 last-minute winners have really turned the tide for them now, and given them the extra bit of belief. And now Jesus is back, so wow, what a turnaround it is for them. I think if they drop points in one of those games, Villa or Bournemouth, I don't know if they even go into this game with how they're playing. But they did get those wins, and that Arsenal side are full of belief now, and it's worrying times for us Spurs fans, I have to say.
It is worrying times, especially when you're looking at the fixture list as well. I mean, I'm looking at their fixture list, and I can't even tell you a game that they're going to drop points in, to be honest. I mean, I'm looking at it. Palace at home next. You're saying that's a gimme game. Leeds at home. I assume they're going to win that. Then they got 2 difficult away games with Liverpool and West Ham, but I can see them even going there and winning both. I know Liverpool's going to be difficult, but West Ham ain't pulling up any trees at the moment. Then they play at home to Southampton. So these home games for Arsenal look like a piece of piss for them, to be honest.
They've got some very good home games. Yeah, because they've played all the hard home games. They beat Liverpool. They beat United. They beat us. They drew with Newcastle. They did lose to City. They do have, obviously, the Etihad to come. They do have to go away to St James's Park.
Yeah.
So they've got some tough away games, but the
City,
home games, you've got to think.
Newcastle and Liverpool. Apart from that, I can't see them dropping any points.
I'm looking at their home, just isolating their home games. I think they might very well go 100% from now to the end of the season at home.
Albeit, though, you saw that, I mean, they conceded 2 goals to Bournemouth. Can they keep coming back like that? 3-2 and stuff like that. So,
and also
I mean,
Chelsea, they do have Chelsea
chinks
at home.
in their armoury.
They have Chelsea and Brighton at home. So those are the 2 home games. I'm thinking if Chelsea are resurgent, maybe they go there with a different kind of level of performance than they showed previously. And obviously Brighton are a very tricky team. They could easily trouble Arsenal with the way they play. So those are 2 games I see. But I'm looking at the other ones. Wolves at home, Southampton at home, Leeds at home, Palace at home. I think there's little to no chance they drop any points in those ones.
Yeah, unfortunately so. But let's just hope Man City can pick up more points than them and beat them at the Etihad.
But you know what we've said with City? If City have done the thing is with City, they've done it before. Like these mad runs, they've done it season in, season out. It's second nature to them to go on these crazy runs.
Yeah.
So if they really go from now to the end of the season, City with maybe 1 drop point or 1 drop game, which they can do, I don't know. I mean, it might be too much for Arsenal.
It could be, but I'm looking at City's fixtures. I mean, just in their last 2 games, they got to go away to Brentford and at home to Chelsea. I mean, they've got difficult games, City. They really do. They got to go away to Brighton. They got Liverpool up next. They've got to play Arsenal as well. They play Everton away, third last game of the season as well. They could be absolutely scrapping for their lives. So, you know, both. It's going to be an interesting end to the season, but definitely in this title race. And let's just hope City can pip them. Because I think Arsenal are going to be there to right till the end now.
100%. After on the back of that performance, I think so.
Next up, Manchester United against Southampton, 0-0 on the day. Casemiro picking up another red card, which leaves him out for 4 of the next Manchester United games. Both of us going for 3-1 to Man United, and Southampton will be absolutely kicking themselves for not getting all 3 points in this game. I mean, Casemiro gets such an early red card in this game. They had to pay. How long was it with
Let's make an hour, I would say.
Yeah, even more. I mean, it was unbelievable. And I thought that, look, Southampton did pressure Man United. They did have good chances that they didn't put away. But still, did they do enough to win the game?
No, because they didn't score. And the fact of I don't think they created enough to win as well. I think they had opportunities, but as well, United had opportunities. I think Bruno hit the post. I think United were more in the game than they should have been against a team who have an extra man. De Gea did have to pull off some really good saves, but I think Theo Walcott had a number of opportunities, and I was
Walcott, why is he playing?
Honestly, I was watching the game and I was like, for God, someone get this Walcott off. He was pissing me off. The amount of chances he was missing and his lack of quality. He was terrible throughout the game, and I think he really cost Southampton. Kyle Walker-Peters hit the post as well. And Southampton, yeah, they'll feel like they were unlucky, but I feel like as well, I felt like a part of them were like, they're actually happy for the point. Even, I mean, look, I guess a team like Southampton near the bottom, you go away at Old Trafford, you got to take a point, but in the position they were in with the extra man for so long, the fact they didn't take the game more to United is a bit disappointing, and they did it like near the end of the game. They were just happy to see out the game and take the point and risk not losing, even though they had the extra man. United were the ones actually throwing caution to the wind, and they were the one taking the risk and trying to go for the win. And it nearly did pay off with Bruno hitting the post, but and also they nearly won a couple of penalties. Rashford took a mad dive, which was a bit crazy, and Bruno wanted a penalty, but it was a good challenge by Walker-Peters. But I think Southampton will be the ones where they'll be very disappointed that they didn't make the most of the situation they found them. They never have a better chance of winning at Old Trafford.
Absolutely.
And they didn't take it with both hands. But in terms of the Casemiro red card, it's a difficult situation, because I think the challenge, the way he catches him, is probably a red card offence, because it's high. He's got a high intensity in the challenge as well, so it was a dangerous challenge. But the one bit of sympathy I do have for him is that when he came into the challenge, he gets a good connection on the ball, and his boot kind of slides off the ball, and then it redirects into the shin of the Southampton player. So it didn't go straight for the shin. So I kind of have a bit of sympathy where he clearly was going for the ball, and he did win the ball in a way, and the ball kind of redirected his boot, but it could have easily broken his leg, and that's reality.
Exactly. It's over the top a bit from Casemiro, and he's got to learn, because it's happening way too often now with Casemiro. How many bookings has he had? How many red cards has he had? I mean, he's missed, I think after these 4-game suspension, he would have missed 8 games out this season, suspended or something crazy like that. And for a player of his kind of reputation and his experience for Manchester United, I don't think it's good enough, to be honest. As much as he's had such a positive impact on that team, and what a player he is, he needs to just toe the line a little bit.
I think it's something that this is Casemiro we're talking about, where he's a world-class defensive midfielder. I think you take the positives and the negatives. Suspended. It's a lot, but look at Ramos. He used to get like 5 red cards a season. You know what I mean? Like he was crazy, and he was still one of the best centre halves of his generation. You know what I mean? I feel like Casemiro, obviously he'll be disappointed with it, and you as a manager, you probably want him available for more games, but I think he's been brilliant for Man United.
He has. I'm not saying he hasn't, but I just feel like it's just frustrating probably for the Man United fans, for Ten Hag, that this keeps happening. 8 games suspended and he gets
a lot of yellows as well. Very similar to like Romero, just so many yellows. But talking about Man United, though, is there a conversation to be had about them and the top four? Like,
Of course there is.
because now Casemiro is going to miss the FA Cup. He misses 3 Premier League games: Newcastle away, Brentford at home, and Everton at home. I would say,
And Fulham in the cup, yeah.
I'm saying Fulham in the cup, yeah. I mean, Newcastle away without Casemiro is going to be very difficult now. They're going to want a revenge for the cup final. Brentford are a solid team. Everton at home, obviously, they're going to be difficult because they're in the relegation battle. But I mean, I mean, right now they're only 2 points above Spurs, who are in 4th. I know they have 1 game in hand, but 2 points is 2 points. Even if they win, it's only 5.
Yeah.
That's not that much. So, are they really getting dragged? Are they now dragged back into it? The top 4 race.
100%. Of course they are. They're definitely dragged back into it. When you're looking at the games in hand that Newcastle has as well, if Newcastle win that game in hand, they go not far behind Manchester United. And I think that as well, with Man United in the Europa League and in the FA Cup, it's going to be difficult for them to fight on all 3 fronts from now to the end of the season.
Let me ask you this: if United do drop out the top 4 and they don't win either of the cup competitions, have we maybe jumped the gun in saying how well Ten Hag is doing?
Well, if all of those things happen, yeah, but
Which is not that unlikely.
I don't think they're going to drop out of all 3 competitions.
So you're saying they're going to win? Well, they've already won the League Cup, I guess.
They've won the League Cup. I actually think they're going to win one of the FA Cup or the Europa League, and I still think they will make that top 4. But I think with Ten Hag, I mean, it's his first season there. I think it was a big job as well. I think that even if they don't finish in the top 4 this year, which I think they will, I think that they've still done well because they've got the Man United fans back on side. They're still very early on into their project, and I don't think people are jumping the gun because I think you can see the progression path.
I mean, I'm not saying they're not playing well. I think you can as well, and I do think he's united the squad and everything with getting with Ronaldo. He's managed things very well. And I do agree with you. I do think they are going in the right direction. But I just think it's interesting, like, if that all was to happen, like, that wouldn't be very dissimilar to, like, what other managers have done at Man United. Yet he's going to get a lot of praise. Well, we'll see what happens from now to the end of the season. But if they do drop out the top 4, that does put a lot of pressure on winning one of the 2 cups for it to be a really, especially getting back in the Champions League.
Look, the thing that they've got going for them, they're still in 3 tournaments. Well, when I say 3 tournaments, top 4 race and Europa League and FA Cup. I mean, look, if they go now and go out the FA Cup, fall out of that top 4 race and win Europa League, they're still in the Champions League for next season.
Oh, I think they'll take that. A League Cup and a Europa League. That's what Mourinho did, and he got criticised for it.
Yeah, and I thought it was wrong to get criticised for it, to be honest, because I thought, look at every single manager that's come in since Ferguson has left. Jose Mourinho has done the best by far.
But it's interesting, if that was to happen, though, if Ten Hag won Europa League, got top 6, won League Cup, everyone would be saying it'll be a fantastic season. Yeah, Mourinho, everyone was saying it wasn't good enough.
Yeah, because they were still kind of thinking that they should be getting back to the levels of the Fergie days, which was always way too much big expectations. And I think that every manager that has come into Man United has fallen foul of the big expectations that maybe Fergie set there when he was there for so long. And I think that maybe when Ollie was there, I think the expectations have been lowered. And I think Ten Hag is coming in. He's brought a good feeling back to the club, good feeling within the fan base and the playing staff. And I think they're onto a good thing. So even if they don't meet the targets that they've set out for earlier this season, I still think the progression path is there for them. So I think they should just bide their time and stick with the project.
Spurs closer to 3rd than 4th now. Then 5th, I mean, now.
We'll see what happens. But next up is West Ham against Aston Villa, 1-1 at the London Stadium. Sim went 1-1, so he gets a big fat 5-pointer for this one. I went 2-0 to Villa. And it started off well with Ollie Watkins scoring 1-0 to Aston Villa, but West Ham did fight their way back into the game with a Benrahma penalty. Only, was it 5-10 minutes after Ollie Watkins scored that goal, and nobody could really find any breakthrough after that, and it was kind of a stalemate after that, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was not watching too much of this game. I was more concentrating on the United games, but I had it on a bit, and Looks like West Ham, to be fair, did have some chances late on to try and win the game, and they were forcing issue. Martinez had to make some saves late on, but apparently there is some discontent in some of the West Ham ranks because Paqueta went off, subbed, and stormed down the tunnel apparently.
Oh, really?
Because he was not happy with being substituted.
He got subbed with 10 minutes to go.
Yeah, apparently he wasn't happy. He stormed down the tunnel. He wanted to stay on, but what's this called? Moyes said that he subbed him because he was on a yellow and he was worried he was going to get sent off, but Paqueta wasn't happy about it. And Scamacca as well didn't come on. He's back available, £35 million striker, and apparently he's unhappy that he wasn't used at all. He wasn't even to force the issue. And Moyes said he has to improve some of his fitness before he's going to use him. And I don't know. I think the noises aren't great for David Moyes. I think these kind of games, I guess the point against Villa, who got a good away record, isn't the worst thing in the world. But, I mean, we can't keep saying that with West Ham, who when there's 11 games to go, they're currently only out of the bottom three on goal difference. And they're level on point with Bournemouth. That is nowhere near good enough for a team who, let's be honest, look at their team. They've got a solid team. They got really. If I'm looking at the bottom
Europa
half,
League semi-finalist last year.
if I'm looking at the bottom half, I would argue West Ham probably have the best 11 out of that whole bottom half.
Yeah, I would say West Ham and maybe even Leicester. Those two teams.
West Ham, maybe Leicester.
Probably those two teams shouldn't be in that battle. But when you're looking at West Ham...
West Ham are probably the most underperforming team, have to be in that.
When you're looking at West Ham, I mean, it's nowhere near good enough. I think Moyes has been on the brink of a sack all season, pretty much. And when you're looking at their next four games, Southampton at home, Newcastle at home, Fulham away, and Arsenal at home.
Difficult.
I mean, apart from Southampton, those three games look extremely difficult for them now, don't they?
Very difficult. They've got some big home games as well. They've still got Liverpool and Man United to come at
They play
home.
Leicester away last game of the season.
Oh, I mean, that could be. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of games like that. Although,
Yeah, they play Leeds second last game.
But West Ham, I mean, we keep saying, I think they'll be all right. I think they'll be all right. And I do think they'll be all right. But, you know, we're now getting into the last 10 games of the season nearly. And they're still there.
2 points from the bottom. That's it. That's why it's a massive game for them against Southampton this weekend.
It's crazy.
Oh, they're not playing Southampton. They don't, after the international break. I mean,
right? It's crazy how low they are still, and they're not winning these kind of games. That's got to be big alarm bells. That they're still not getting these wins over the line. They've won one game of their last five. I still think they'll probably have enough because I think at home they're not losing too many games. So away from home they look pitiful at the moment, but at home they're still doing okay. They're not winning too many, but not losing too many. So I think it should be their home form will probably keep them up. But
yeah, they've turned it around of late. I mean, they got a win against Everton, draw against Chelsea, win against Forest, and now a draw against Villa.
Yeah, so I think their home form will probably just about keep them up, but it's still worrying times for West Ham right now. Level with Bournemouth at this stage of the season is terrible.
If they keep picking up these draws, though, from time to time, and just keep those points just gradually going up a little bit, I think they will be okay.
It's crazy, though. If you look at Bournemouth's squad and their squad, it's just unbelievable, the difference.
It is unbelievable, yeah. And you know what? West Ham have gone down before when we've said, they're too good to go down. Mm-hmm. They've had previous for it, so we'll see how it goes. Last but not least, Newcastle against Wolves. Newcastle back to winning ways with a 2-1 win over Wolves. Sim went 1-1. I went 1-0 to Newcastle, so I get a point for this one. And this game reminded me a little bit of Spurs' game against Wolves last week. I thought Newcastle completely battered them in the first half, got that goal with Isaac. And by the way, that song that Newcastle have for Isaac makes me sick to my stomach. You heard it? Gimme, 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 a striker from Sweden.
Oh, no. How dare they?
How dare they?
How dare they? Keep our Swedish song out of your mouth.
Exactly. But no, second half... they made a couple of changes, Wolves tactically and personnel. I think Traore came on for Neto, and they got back into the game and started hurting Newcastle a little bit. They got that equaliser with 20 minutes to go. I think Hwang Hee-chan with first touch of the game after 30 seconds after coming on. But Miggy Almiron comes on and saves the day with 10 minutes to go, and Newcastle take home all 3 points.
Yeah, it was their first goal in a month. Newcastle, they hadn't scored in a month since scoring away at Bournemouth on the 11th of February.
Goal to concede, by the way, from Newcastle.
Well, the goal they conceded for Hwang, yeah, terrible goal. Pope wasn't great, didn't cover himself in much glory with that moment as well, and it was
Why
good
did
reward.
Pope get sent off?
Why didn't he?
Yeah.
He should have been.
He shouldn't have been.
He should have been.
Should have been, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, he should have been sent off. It was. I think they completely got away with one. He makes a really bad error again. Second time he's done that recently, after following up against Liverpool, and he got so lucky that the referee didn't call him up on it and give the penalty, because that was clearly a penalty and red card. So even though Newcastle were very dominant in that first half, still got very lucky that they weren't down to 10 men, or definitely hadn't conceded a penalty. Second half, Wolves deservedly got back in the game, and I think Wolves were a bit guilty of, in the second half, once having equalised, of just sitting a bit too deep and inviting too much pressure, and Newcastle made it pay, although did get a bit of luck, a big deflection on the goal from Miguel Almiron off Max Kilman and into the back of the net. But look, they got the win, their first win in a while, to be fair. First win since... when was the last time they won in the league? They haven't won since beating Southampton away. No, haven't since beating Fulham at home on the 15th of January. So first win in 2 months. So they did get back to winning ways, but it's their first win in a long time in the league. But it wasn't a convincing one although they were good in the first. I have to say they were good in the first half, and they deservedly had the lead. But the way they lost control of the game, how they got lucky with the penalty as well, it just didn't seem that convincing. And it didn't seem to me like it was a kind of... Maybe it's the kind of performance that's going to shake them back to having those kind of performances they have earlier in the season, and maybe they're going to go on a run. But I don't know. I just see them slipping away when it comes to the top four race. I really do, even though they're now in fifth.
I've said that for a while. I don't think they're good enough for top four as well. Their first top four race with this squad. So I think the lack of experience is showing through a little bit. But yeah, let's move on to the star men. Sim went for Cody Gakpo. I went for Ollie Watkins. Obviously, Gakpo lost 1-0 to Bournemouth. Ollie Watkins 1-1 against West Ham. So I get 5 points. He scored the opening goal in that game. So we finish off on 2-4-3 to Sim, 2-5-2 to me. I got a few points back in this one. But we completely forgot before we came on air. We do have 2 predictions to make for this week.
Oh, we do.
First one is Brighton against Crystal Palace. I'll give my prediction first for this one. You can give your first one for the next one. I'm going to go for 1-1 in this game, Brighton against Crystal Palace. I think that how many times? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the last 7 games has finished 1-1 in this game. A big derby for the fans in this game. Players don't want to be making the mistakes, albeit Brighton are on obviously much better form than Palace. But I think Palace are going to come and do a bit of a job on them. So I'm going for 1-1.
I'm going to go for 1-0 to Brighton.
Okay.
I think that Palace still can't look. They can't get shots on target at the moment. I do expect a bit of reaction to that in it's a derby, isn't it?
Yeah.
Brighton versus Palace. So I do expect a bit of reaction to that, and I do expect them to have shots on target, but they really are struggling to score goals. And I think Brighton at the moment, they're playing very good football. I do see them having the ability to open up Crystal Palace, and I just think Palace are going to struggle to create real good quality chances. And I do think they'll be up for the fight, but I think it won't be enough to get a point. So I do think it'll be 1-0 Brighton.
And Southampton against Brentford at St Mary's. What are you going for?
I'm gonna go for 1-1.
1-1.
Yeah, I think Southampton weren't great against United, but back at home, their home form, they did get a win last time out at home in I can't remember who it was, but it was against Leicester. It was 1-0, just about scraped. I think Brentford are the type of team they'll probably dominate and they'll probably deserve the victory, but I just think Southampton will just have enough to cling on to a point. So I'm going to go for 1-1.
I'm going to go for 2-0 to Brentford. I think Southampton not playing well at the moment. Youngest team in the Premier League as well. I'm not sure if they're going to have the mettle to stay up in this league with the way they're going at the moment. They currently sit at the bottom of the Premier League. Brentford just had their first loss in a while, and I'm going to back them to bounce back against a poor Southampton team here. So I'm going to go for 2-0 to Brentford. So Sim's going for 1-1. I'm going for 2-0. Those are our midweek predictions for Predict the Prem this week. Thank you everyone for watching today. We'll see you all very soon. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always,
come on you Spurs.